Hello and welcome to Virtual Investor Conferences. My name is Bob Power, and on behalf of OTC Markets, we're very pleased you joined us for our next live presentation from Silver Tiger Metals. Please note, you can submit questions in the box to the left of the slides. You can also view a company's availability for one-on-one meetings through the Schedule Meetings tab found on the conference platform. At this point, I'm very pleased to welcome Glenn Jessam, Chief Executive Officer of Silver Tiger Metals, which trades on the OTCQX Best Market under the symbol SLVTF and on the TSXV under the symbol SLVR. Welcome, Glenn.
Well, thank you, Bob, for having us come and talk about El Tigre again. It was great to see you in New York in the summer, come to your offices, and really appreciate what you're doing. We're trying to get access for the next great silver mine, which we think we have, into that U.S. market. And really nice to see the volumes really picking up since we put our mineral resource estimate out last week, and we're moving quickly towards PEA. So thank you for everything you do for us, and we're gonna deliver a nice product here, we think, for your followers. So let's talk about El Tigre. We've been in the mining business here out of Halifax, Nova Scotia, building mines in Mexico, silver mines, for almost 30 years, our team. Silver Tiger is our latest, greatest, newest company, but everything in this case takes a long time. 8 years we've been at El Tigre. It was 8 years ago that we acquired it. Since that time, we've raised $91 million for the company. 75 million of that in bought deal financings in the last 3 years. I'll show you some of the institutions that own us when we get into the slide deck. Six of that 90 million, 62 million of it directly in the ground. Look at our financial statements. Spent another million on the acquisition, the 11 million purchase price when we got this asset 8 years ago. 21 million still in the bank to keep on going in a tough market, and it's a tough market. We're pretty proud of that. We've delivered 2 weeks ago at Beaver Creek, 176 million silver equivalent ounce MRE, mineral resource estimate. And here in the next couple of weeks in October, we'll deliver the PEA, the preliminary economic assessment, to go with that, which will be very robust. That's how long it takes to move a project from exploration to development. And I'll explain here in this presentation how we think we're going to be able to quickly move it to production, because that's how you win. You don't win by drill holes. Every drill hole we started drilling 8 years ago, the 125,000 meters we've drilled here, was to get us to the point we're at now, a PEA, which is the business plan to build what will be a very, in our opinion, profitable silver mine. Maybe we'll jump into some of the slides now, and I can tell you a little bit about El Tigre. Look, some people have heard about this before. We've been around for a while, but I think what you need to see is you really need to see the asset that we have acquired. What you see on the screen right there is 8 years ago, public company that had an asset that we really wanted. I'm a securities lawyer by training here in Canada. Work closely with the TSX and the TSX Venture Exchange. I'm on their National Advisory Committee, actually. I had to have this asset because the team told me we needed it. 35 kilometers long, 30,000 hectares. Why? There's no new discovery in Mexico. All of the big new mines that have been built over the years, and we've built 4 of them in our 25 years there, are under around the head frames of old Spanish or American mines. Right here in the middle, so I'll call it the middle 2 or 3 kilometers of this land package, and that yellow box, we own all that. 100% of our claims, 35 kilometers, 28,000 hectares. But all of our 125,000 meters right around the old Tiger mine. That's why we bought it. 1908 to 1930, that old American mine, big American mine, delivered 100 million silver equivalent ounces at an average grade of 2.2 kilos silver equivalent. Cut off of 1.2 kilos. Can you imagine? They had a 200 ton per day mill through the period. Incredible ore. We knew if we drilled under around that old mine, it would go well. It's gone very, very well. 176 million silver equivalent ounces delivered now in the indicated and inferred category. We're going to look at that in a little more detail. And a PEA, the economic assessment coming, the preliminary, which is really our business plan to build it. And that's a simplistic way for us to say that as mine builders. That being said, let's move from this and focus in on what we've delivered so far. But boy, that land package is great. We just finished a 46-kilometer road right to site. Not only do we have all the exploration rights, we bought the middle 7,000 hectares of land where all of the exploration and we will build the mine on. Nice to have all that under our control. Now, let's talk a little bit about the kind of system. And I think you got to understand that we just put out 176 million silver equivalent ounces in our MRE. You can go look at that. I'm going to take you through it. But that's just the first inning for El Tigre. This is a true district. This is a picture I think is very powerful. There's the 25 kilometers of our land package that we've already walked, mapped, sampled. All of our drilling is right here, the vast majority around that old Tiger mine, and a little bit to the north. We're just getting going. This is a line in sand. We'll be exploring here for decades to come. But boy, what we already have is pretty special and really is going to deliver robust economics for what we think will be a very, very profitable silver mine. And there aren't that many of them in the world. There's a handful. So we'll talk about that a little bit more later. This is a cartoon, really, really important cartoon, because this is what 8 years of drilling tells our technical people that basically, what we have at El Tigre. If you know Mexico and you know mining in Mexico, most of the mines that have been built there for the last 100 years, even more with the Spanish mines well before the Americans come in there at the turn of the century, they were what we call simplistic flowering epithermal systems. You usually have a big stockwork, and think about this. That's a vein, an epithermal vein, quartz vein, 1-2 meters, high grade, just like your countertop, it looks like it, high grade silver, chalcopyrite, sphalerite, galena. And as that comes to surface, you usually have a stockwork, oxidized stockwork at surface where you get big blowouts of mineralization. We have that. I'll show you that in the pit we have, where you have wide zones of open pit mineable ore. Mineralization too. And then you use the cash flow from that to develop underground to get the narrow veins. That's mining 101 in Mexico. We were very fortunate in the last 2 years of that 8 years of exploration to get to the point to deliver this silver to amount as a test in time. There'll be much more added as we continue to explore. That's what we have now. We found 2 other types of mineralization. 2 years ago, if you followed the story, you would have heard us talk about a black shale zone, where that same vein, epigenetic event, came to surface millions and millions of years ago. Like it blew out mineralization in this stockwork at surface, not far from surface, it blew 20 to 30 meters of high-grade mineralization into this shale zone. In many cases, multi-kilo ore. What a beautiful thing after you take the pit and you're going underground, narrow vein mining, to come to a big, basically bulk mineable area. A real bonus. You'll see some of that is in the mineral resource estimate I'm going to show you in a few minutes. Now, the last year was very exciting. As we put the first drill holes deep underneath Tiger, the old mine, we came into what we call it a massive sulfide. It's already 750 meters by 350 meters high by 25 meters wide, and it is a massive sulfide of high-grade precious metals and mineralization. And that's made some of that, just a little bit, because we just get on it, is in the resource estimate also. So that's El Tigre in a nutshell. I think it's very important that people realize also we've developed quite a ways underground, so that now, instead of drilling all these holes from this surface, top of the mountain in the cartoon, we walk right here at level 7 of the old Tiger mine. I'm going to show you that. So all of our exploration now is going to be, instead of 400-meter holes, it's going to be 50 to 100-meter holes to continue the underground exploration portion. Really nice work. We used Cominvi for some of that. You can see the type of work they did when they drove into the side of the mountain. We're almost a half kilometer in there now, 400 meters. So we'll go a bit further. But beautiful underground development work. And that's 4.5 by 4 meters. So that's for commercial, not only exploration equipment, but also when we get to, and we will, taking ore out of that underground mine. Important to note, we already are permitted. Historically, when I bought this asset, that public company 8 years ago, and delisted it and took the asset. It came with a historic 800 ton per day underground permit. Very valuable for us as we go now to the next development / moving towards production. I think something else very important, if anyone follows us, and I think it's important that I talk about this right now, is we've been adding to the management team. The first 8 years were me, the entrepreneur, doing what it took to get that $91 million. 71 million, 75 million in the last 3 years at very good valuation, no warrants, bought deal financings, put together by all the top investment banks in the space. And I think it's important that people see the owners of our company. The vast majority of that 75 million in the last 3 years in a very tough market. So we could get to here on the basis of exploration only. You can see the names: Franklin, Sprott Asset Management, Merck, Menac, McKenzie, Fort Sale. These are the top institutions in our space. All of them are. And they're our largest shareholders, and we're happy to have their support. But let's talk management again. Very important. When people should have saw an announcement I made in the summer that exploration was moving to development, which moves quickly, we hope, and we think, to production. We hired this gentleman, and I'm going to show his resume, because this is the person who will be the person for our company that will be COO, frontline, building this project in Mexico. His experience is unparalleled in our opinion, and we've been there for 25 years doing this. I'm going to show you that's his resume just for the last decade. Anyone who invests in Mexico will know these mines. They'll know Argonaut. They'll know the type of work that they did there, and you will see that this was the gentleman who really drove that process for them. Since 2012 to 15, Potala, he permitted it, built it for Argonaut, and ran it. He then moved, and look at the size of those operations: massive underground and open pit heap leach projects. El Castillo, a legendary mine in Mexico now, massive open pit, very profitable. And he basically permitted that one next, starting in 15, ran it until 18, when he became the full project manager for all of Argonaut projects in Mexico. We were very fortunate this summer to be able to get him to come and join our company as our VP of operations, COO, however you want to look at that. He'll be the guy who will drive the build of this, and we're so fortunate to have him. I have to reiterate that to people. It was a very, very, very significant move for the company to be able to get that type of talent to believe in this project, a builder like that. Let's talk now a little bit about, what have we put on the books? What is that 176 million silver equivalent ounces? Where is it? How are you going to mine it? I think the first thing I want to show you, though, is this mineralized domain. This is really a leapfrog diagram you're going to see. A lot of pretty colors, but think of that as where all of those 125,000 meters are drilled. That's 5 kilometers of the 35-kilometer project that we have. And think about the old Tiger mine being the first 2.5, and the purple to the north being the other 2.5. You can see where the old timers, you can see even on this diagram, some of very faintly, the white lines. That's where the old timers went. And they just took a little, right about there, about a half meter of ore that averaged over 20 years, 2.2 kilos. Can you imagine? 200 ton per day mill. We knew they just scratched the surface. Let's get drilling on it and see what turns up. There are 3 main veins here, and this is what you're going to see in the MRE. There's going to be an in-pit component in the mineral resource estimate I'm going to walk you through in a second, which just delivered at Beaver Creek at the big mining show 2 weeks ago. An open pit component, out of pit, and underground component. The underground component first will be made up of what we've drilled on the 3 historic veins. We've got the Sites Kelly, the Tiger up the middle, and the Sui vein. Those are different colors. Those will be in the underground resource. I'm going to talk about it in a minute. What you're also going to see in that resource underground is that shale I talked about. You can see these little black strips. This continues for kilometers. We don't have enough drilling to get it all in the resource. It will be added. So there's only a little of it in the 176 million silver equivalent ounces indicated and inferred we just delivered. But you can start to see how important that sulfide zone, that massive new structure we determined. That's the orange. basically just below our feet in level 7 where we've developed into. We'll start exploring that from underground and not from surface. There's some of that in the resource estimate, but that's a line. This is a line in the sand right now. That will continue and grow bigger. We like what we see so far. That's the underground component. Then what you're going to see, and we're going to talk about, which is very exciting, is this open pit. You can see this nice little light violet or purple. That's 2 kilometers. That's the open pit. It's 250 meters deep, wide benches, 250 meters across. We're going to talk about it a little bit more. That's very exciting. That's going to be the open pit part of the PEA you're going to see coming, and the underground will be in that PEA. We'll talk about that at the end. That's not out yet. Imminent this week, next week. Tried to have it for the end of September, but when you have independent, everybody working on it, it always takes a little longer. We'll come back to that at the end. But what's really exciting here is let's look at these ounces. These tables can be very confusing. These are done by geologists. Even when I see this the first time, I have to read it several times. So I'm going to simplify that 176 million silver equivalent ounces we delivered a couple of weeks ago. Let's talk about what we call pit constraint. That means in that big pit I showed you. We like to talk as miners tons. In there, we have 53 million tons of ore. 43 million of that is indicated. 11 million is inferred. The average grade on that pit is 0.61. That's extremely high grade for an open pit. And that's gold equivalent, of course. We talk about the pit in gold equivalent. Some of those open pits I showed you that our new COO/VP operations, Francisco, would have built, the grade in those big open pits was 0.25, 0.35. So this has amazing grade. The second thing it has, and we'll talk about more in the PEA, is the strip on it is 2-to-1, which will be confirmed more in the PEA. So really, really beautiful ore, but also important was recovery. As I showed you that cartoon, you saw where those epithermal veins came to surface, and then you saw that blowout of mineralization where you had these 150, 200 meter benches of ore at that lower grade that you take out in an open pit. What was incredible, because a lot of that was gold. Mostly the silver veins are 80% silver, but that blowout had more gold in it. The recoveries were incredible. I press released in August all of the metallurgical work we'd done at Leakfield in Canada, all the column work for the recovery on the open pit. It was 78.1% overall, factoring like a silver equivalent test, which was incredible. And most of that in the early tail, by 24 days, most of that gold had come out. Boy, when you see how that affects the economics in the PEA, it's very robust, very, very exciting. So leave those numbers for now. I'm going to take you and show you that pit here in a picture. I think I've got enough time looking at my clock here in a second. Let's talk about the underground component. As you can see, indicated and inferred underground, we have 11 million tons. That's because our independent geologist, which is PEA, very reputable, chose a 1.5, as you'll see it right there, cutoff grade for mining. We're never going to mine 1.5. We're going to mine, I'm going to take you to the sensitivity table in a moment, but 11 million tons averaging 250 grams. An 800 ton per day mine to get all that ore would take us 31 years. So we need to get to the best ore, the ore we can mine very economically and make a good return on. So that's where people should go and look. And this is the next thing, and they always look at in these press releases for resources. Where's that sensitivity table? Very, very important. So I'm going to take you to that sensitivity table. And here's what you're really, oops, that's not it. Here it is here. What we do is, as miners, we say, okay, let's put a cutoff, our own cutoff on the numbers of 3.5. When you do that, don't quote me on this, those 11 million tons turn to 4 or 5 million, very manageable. 10-year mine life, 12-year mine life. It will grow. This is just a line in the sand, as you know, as we keep exploring. We don't stop exploring. But look at the grade that comes out of that underground. Almost half a kilo there and 400 here. You'll see that fine-tuned more in the PEA for the underground that's coming within the next couple of weeks. And I see some questions there. When is it coming? I had intended to get it out at the end of September, which was Friday. It's just dragging a bit, finalizing the final few numbers. Is it this week? Is it next week? It will be in October. So a lot to chew on there for people when that comes out. So keep an eye for that. Let's go now look at quickly, so I have time for questions, the pit and why we think it's so special and what you should be looking at really as we go forward in the next couple of weeks to create real value, not just, another drill hole value, real NAV that will be revealed in this PEA. So if we look here, I think this is one to start with, the pit. Let's just start there. This is what it looks like. There's that beautiful pit, 2 kilometers, 250, 250 across, 2 kilometers long, 53 million tons, grade of 0.61. Rough, you'll see more refinement on it, but call it a 2-to-1 rough strip on that pit. Beautiful. If that was 15,000 tons per day, I'm just pulling numbers out of the sky, it would take you 10 years at that amount of ore on a heap leach to process the ore we have there already. It will grow. We stop drilling. It will get bigger north and south. But as a picture in time, that's where we are. I do have to talk, though, about the starter pit, because this is one of the things that basically I thought was, sometimes the cards are dealt beautifully to you on the asset you have. Right in the middle of this pit, that's 500 meters, 600 meters. That's that pit. Of course, it keeps going. It's not represented in this photo. So that 600 meters, 3 million tons. It's where those three veins, Tiger, Suey, and Sites Kelly, came together, and you have the highest, not only mineralization in the old mine the old timers went after, but here in the pit. It is 3 million tons. Call it year and a half, 2 years of production. The grade is incredible. It's 0.95, and the strip is 0. It's really at surface. It might be a 0.4 or a 0.5, but just take that ore. There's no strip. The strip is air. So very exciting, very important for those first couple of years to have that ready. What we'll do now, 21 million in the bank. Between now, when the PEA comes out, we'll immediately, we've already started that work, move it to pre-feasibility. My goal is the end of March 2024. It's really simple what you have to do for that. You have to drill, you have to move this first 2 years of ore to measured, so it'll be measured and indicated. We have 43 million tons of indicated ore. The other 11 million tons that are inferred, we'll drill at each end of that pit. I think it's easier to show it here. We'll have 4 drill rigs up there all fall. We'll do some drilling up here, and we'll move that indicated to that inferred to indicated. And Golder are in there doing the pit design. 8 metallurgical holes are being drilled now. We think we'll be able to fine-tune that metallurgy more because we did a 3/8, which I press release, and 1/2 inch. There wasn't much difference on the excellent recovery. Maybe we can optimize it and it's 3/4. Maybe it's 1 inch. That work will be done between now and March, and that will be delivered in the pre-feasibility. So leaving that, let's talk about the underground. I'll close on the PEA and we'll have 5 minutes for questions. The underground I showed you, I think it's important to go back to this and realize right now, I showed you the underground development. We walk here. So all of our exploration as we add to the underground ore will be drilled from underground. 500-meter holes turn into 100-meter holes. That's very, very good. This is wonderful. The veins are wonderful. This sulfide zone is very special. We've never seen either of these in our 25 years in Mexico in any of the projects we've looked at and any of the mines we've built. So let's go look at this sulfide zone long section. And I'm going to show you this one. This is a nice little picture for people that are trying to grasp all these moving colors. There's that 5 kilometers in a long section. It's really simple. Here's the open pit. You can see where the old timers went and took the 100 million silver equivalent ounces of the underground development. We've developed right back in where they are in level 7 right here. You can see the shale. We've drilled that shale even though we didn't have enough holes to get much of it into the resource for 5 kilometers. We'll add that in as we go. But this sulfide zone is very special. As you can see, we stopped drilling. We already got 750 meters. We just got to drill more holes. It's going to get bigger. And what it looks like right now, so you can see it, is look at that thing. This kind of shocked the entire team when we drilled into this. The first deep holes we ever put in there at 400 or 500 meters. The first hole back was 50 meters of a kilo. We went, what is that? We thought we'd actually drilled down the vein until we went in to the mountain and looked at the core and said, it's a massive sulfide. So what beautiful ore. That's 750 meters, 350 high, 25 meters thick, and it's open. We just stopped drilling. Some of this got into the resource. Much more will be added as we go. So what I'd like to do now is answer a few questions. Maybe we can go back and get out of the slide deck, and talk about what's coming. We are a development company now. Exploration, 8 years. It was a lot of work, kilometers of drilling. Those institutions gave us the almost $100 million that we needed to get to here. We still have more than 20 of that Canadian left to keep going, deliver the pre-fees. The pre-fees will take $6-7 million by the time we do the drilling, the Golder work, all of that to deliver that. And excuse me, we'll be sitting nicely with still money in the bank through a very tough period. Well, we did a bought deal financing with BMO last February. We took $18 million. It was one of the lower valuations we did it at. We'd done everything with the other institutions at such good, wonderful valuations, no warrants attached to those other 3 years. That was a very, very strategically important thing we did and the right decision. Now we're sitting in it's a tough market, but we don't care. We do care. The prices recently at almost $2,000 and $24 silver as miners, incredible. We've never seen that in our careers. The sentiment's not there, but when you're making metal and getting paid for it, and you have now the money to drive all the way to pre-feasibility to get this funded and to get it built, that's very exciting. Those are the companies that win. We know we've won, and the market really can't stop us now. So we're going to go from exploration, we're now development, and move very quickly to production in what we think, because I know what's in the PEA. I can't share it with you. We can talk about it again. I think I'm back on in December on this show. We'll have a lot to chew on then. But when that comes out in the next couple of weeks, I want people to go and look at, if you want to consider investing in this company, go look at our value now, just under 100 million US. We're beat down like everybody else from 200 or 220 as a market cap. And then you start to look at what are the economics. We'll deliver in that report. We'll deliver. These are the economics. You look for the NAV, you look for the payback, you look for the IRR, and then look at how much money this mine is going to make, and then look at the capex. And when that'll spit out your NAV, that's going to say, boy, that's what that asset is worth today. It will get better as we continue to explore. We're only 8 years in. We'll be exploring this. I'll be dead. They'll still be drilling off ounces here when my technical team tells me that. That being said, most developers trade in this market at 0.3, in a little better market at 0.4. Do the math and know that that's real value. That's what we're going to gravitate towards. And while we gravitate to that, not on the basis of, the market changed and it got so good. If it really gets good, we're going to go way past that. But delivering in 6 months a pre-fees that will allow us to build this, and I think knowing what the capex is, getting non-dilutive financing from this point, I never like to say the word easy, but that will be my job. We've now transitioned from a exploration company waving your arms around me for 8 years to get the $100 million to now I get to run the business. I have my business plan in the PEA, and the people who will do most of the talking and most of the planning and most of the delivering will be Francisco Albalez and the technical team, which you'll see very soon. Once we get the PEA out, we'll make it so that online you have access to see how he's going to do it and how he wants to plan the next 6-8 months out. So PEA is going to be very exciting. Please watch for it and really hone in on all of those financial numbers I talked about. I think it's the word I will use is robust, and we're excited to get it out there. So please keep an eye. That's real value, and it's a long journey. Not many juniors ever get here. I'm not in any way belittling my peers. It's a very, very tiny percentage, and so we're excited. We know we've won. Now we just have to execute and build what will be, we think, a very, very profitable silver mine in the short term. I'm going to look in 30 seconds here at some questions. When do you expect to deliver your PEA? Next couple of weeks. Glenn, if this is a line in the sand starting point, we could be talking 500 million silver equivalent ounces and more in the next decade. I'm not going to guarantee that, but I can tell you that the underground is the tip of the iceberg. And there's more of these pits as we go to the north. So there will be many, many more ounces. It's a massive district, guys. It's a big district. And You don't say that first hole, but we know it. What's this other one? At what point in the future will you have an idea about production costs in terms of dollars per ounce? All of that will be in the PEA. When you do a PEA, this is an independent study. You'll have all of your sustaining costs. You'll have all of your production costs. So look to that PEA, guys. It's going to answer all your questions, and I can't say much more about it. I'm excited to share it with you, but I can't today. Stay tuned. And thank you very much. I see I'm out of time, and really appreciate anyone who's listened. And we're always available to be contacted. This Verify slide deck is on our website. You can go through it all in detail, and it'll be updated immediately once the PEA is out. And I'll do a few videos. I do a lot of videos and interviews. You follow some of them over the next couple of weeks, and you'll be able to really get an update on the story.